The Ratchet and Clank series spans 16 games. How did the duo meet, and what did they go through across all these titles and generations? Let's find out just before Rift Apart. This is the ultimate Ratchet and Clank recap. Hello there. I'm Mr. Cobwobbles, this is Alfred, and that over there is my cat, Boleyn. And let's get straight into it. Ratchet and Clank's stories began back in 2002 with their first game on PlayStation 2. We meet Ratchet, a simple Lombax mechanic living on a planet called Veldin in the Solana galaxy, dreaming of going into space and traveling to different planets, building a ship to do it. In the meantime, on a different planet called Quartu, warbots are made for the evil Blargian businessman Chairman Drek. The computer building these warbots malfunctions, creating our tiny robot friend Clank, who finds an infobot and learns of Drek's plan to harvest parts of different planets to make a new planet for his race because their current one had become unlivable due to their own greed. Clank escapes and crash lands on Veldin, where he meets Ratchet. The two go on an adventure to find Quark, the most famous celebrity superhero of the Solana galaxy, in order to save a whole lot of planets. The duo visits many planets, meet a lot of people like Skid McMarks and Helga, the plumber. They expand their arsenal of weapons, buying from Gadgetron, but eventually find out that Quark has been working with Chairman Drek all along to regain his celebrity status that had wavered for a few years as spokesman of Drek's new planet. The duo beat the Blargian snaggle beast Quark set loose upon them, and eventually also beat Quark himself. Drek in the end wants to take the final piece to complete his planet and decides to go for Veldin, Ratchet's home, and so our duo flies back there, defeat Drek, and use his deplanetizer to destroy his new planet. Peace returned to the galaxy, and Ratchet and Clank, even though they fought a lot during the game, became friends for life. This game also got a reboot alongside a movie on PlayStation 4, which changed a lot about the story, which is non-canon in terms of the main timeline. The game is fun to play through, but none of this has anything to do with the universe Rift Apart is set in. The second game of the original trilogy was Going Commando. It's set a year after the events of the first game. Ratchet gets hired by the CEO of Megacorp, a company that has a monopoly on everything in the Bogon Galaxy. The CEO, Fizzwidget, heard of their heroics in the Solana Galaxy and wants to hire Ratchet to retrieve a top-secret stolen experiment. Clank doesn't want to go on this mission and decides to stay in an apartment on Endako provided by Megacorp. The thief gets away from Ratchet with the experiment, which forces him to track this thief further down, but eventually the thief kidnaps Clank, and our duo is reunited when Ratchet saves him. Together this time, they go after this mysterious thief, but they find out they're actually working for the villain. The thief ends up being another Lombax, the same species of Ratchet, called Angela Cross, a former Megacorp employee who wants to stop Fizzwidget from rolling out his new experiment she had stolen. They learn the experiment is called a proto-pet. It looks like it'll do no harm and perfect for parents to buy for their children, but it's actually a very murderous creature that could wipe out everyone in the Bogon Galaxy. Together, they team up to stop Fizzwidget, who is later revealed to be Captain Quark. He wanted to launch the Protopets as Fizzwidget and Megacorp and then save the Bogon Galaxy from those same creatures to be seen as a hero again. Ratchet and Clank defeat him and save the Bogon Galaxy, leaving Quark to become a test subject for Megacorp to test questionable devices on. Very questionable devices. In the third game, Clank has become a TV star as Secret Agent Clank, in which he portrays the titular character and where Ratchet is his butler. While watching an episode together, however, they see a news report. Veldin is under attack by an army from the menacing Dr. Nefarious. The duo teams up with the Galactic Rangers to hold off the invasion, but have to then find Captain Quark, since he is the only one who had fought Dr. Nefarious before in the past, back when he was an actual hero. They find him on a forest planet, having completely lost his mind and knowledge of who he is, and after fixing that hurdle, they learn of Nefarious, his weapon, the Bio-Obliterator, which destroys all organic life and turns it into mechanical life. Nefarious ends up being a huge Secret Agent Clank fan and switches Clank with his own evil recreated version, Clunk, without Ratchet knowing. During one of the missions, Quark perishes in an explosion, after which Ratchet and Clank, or I guess Clunk, go to destroy the Bio-Obliterator and save his real best friend, only to find out that Nefarious was already working on and building another bigger model of the Bio-Obliterator. Nice Star Wars reference, Insomniac. Ratchet and Clank go after the real Nefarious, and while fighting, Quark makes a comeback after faking his own death before to surprise Nefarious, and they beat him together. In the end, Nefarious and his henchman Lawrence are stranded on an asteroid light years away from any planets, and our duo enjoys the premiere of the Secret Agent Clank movie. Then we move over to Ratchet Deadlocked, where Ratchet and Clank are kidnapped and taken to the Shadow Sector, a lawless area in the Solana galaxy where they are forced to compete in a television show called Dread Zone, created by our villain Gleeman Vox. It's a show in which contestants need to fight to survive, and if they refuse, the deadlock collars around their necks explode. Ratchet fought his way through the tournament, becoming a fan favorite, while Clank worked on getting the collar off. In the end, Ratchet defeats Vox, and with the help of Clank, they escape the arena as it blows up. Then there were two PSP games, Size Matters and Secret Agent Clank. These games were not made by Insomniac and have little to do with the overall story of the series, but I'll briefly summarize them just so you have an idea. In Size Matters, our heroes go on a well-deserved vacation after the events of Deadlocked, but soon find out about the Technomites, a tiny race of aliens responsible for most of the Solana galaxy's technology, and they want recognition for it. Their leader, Otto Destruct, decided to build an army of robot Ratchet clones to take over the galaxy and show everyone who's boss before, of course, Ratchet and Clank stopped him to do it. In Secret Agent Clank, Ratchet is framed for stealing a famous jewel by Clunk, who survived the events of the third game. He wanted the jewel to exterminate all life in the galaxy, but Clank stops him and proves Ratchet's innocence in the process. We move over in PlayStation 3 territory, where we start our journey into the future game series of the franchise. We start with Tools of Destruction, in which Ratchet and Clank meet their newest enemy, Emperor Tachyon, the sole survivor of a race called the Kragmites, who perished at the hands of the Lombax race in the Great War, which took place before the series even started. Tachyon is hell-bent on ruling the galaxy and wiping out every last Lombax and bring back his own kind. At the same time, Clank is approached by creatures only he can see, the Zoni, and they tell him that he's destined for great things, but not telling him exactly what that is. Together, our duo explores the history of Ratchet's race and find out that Ratchet is basically the only Lombax left in this dimension. They meet up with Krunk, Zephyr, and Talwyn Apogee, two droids and the daughter of a famous explorer, Max Apogee, who specialized in Lombax artifacts. They learn of a device called the Dimensionator, which can be used to open pathways to different dimensions, and it was used in the Great War by the Lombaxes to lock up the Kragmites in their own pocket universe. While not clearly told in the game, Angela Cross, the other Lombax that Ratchet encountered before, traveled with Max Apogee, aiding him in his quest. No one knows what happened to them, but it's likely that they were hunted down and killed by Tachyon. Our duo then traces Max Apogee's footsteps to find the Dimensionator, crossing space pirates like Captain Slag and Rusty Pete, but eventually it gets in the hands of Emperor Tachyon after he captures Captain Quark. Ratchet and Clank fight Tachyon, damaging the Dimensionator, and the Emperor disappears in a black hole. At the end of the game, the Zoni Clank had been talking about throughout the story show themselves to everyone to kidnap Clank. Yeah, they ended this game on a cliffhanger. It was savage. Then we got Quest for Booty, which was a very short game that connected where Tools of Destruction ended and Kraken Time picked up. Ratchet and Talwyn discover a pirate by the name of Captain Darkwater, who may know how to contact the Zoni. He ends up being dead, but left behind an obsidian eye, which is a device they could use to contact the Zoni. Ratchet finds out that Clank was exposed to Zoni energy, which screwed him up, but that the Zoni wanted to fix him up with the help of a doctor. And of course, that doctor was, you guessed it, the one and only Dr. Nefarious. Determined to save Clank from Nefarious, we go into a crack in time. A crack in time starts with Clank still captured by Dr. Nefarious, who is trying to gain access to his brain, which contains information to access something called the Orvis Chamber. When he uses a device called the Brainwave Scrambler, it messes with the Zoni and the structure they're all inside of, the Great Clock, which has consequences for the entire universe and, well, time. However, it gives Clank the chance to escape. He quickly learns of Orvis, the keeper of the Great Clock, which can alter time, and he's revealed to be Clank's true father, the one that sparked a malfunction in that computer on Quardu in the first game. However, he also learns Orvis has been missing for some time. Quark and Ratchet set off together, but after being hunted by one of Nefarious's henchmen, he meets another Lombax called Azimuth, who coincidentally knew Ratchet's father, Kaidan. Kaidan learned of the existence of the Great Clock, a device that could bring back the Lombax race. And so the two Lombaxes try to find the clock, and in the process, also Clank. When the duo is reunited, Clank warns Ratchet of the implications and dangers of using the Great Clock to bring back the Lombaxes, after which Ratchet decides not to do it, leaving Azimuth angry and disappointed. The duo also learns of Nefarious, his evil plan. He wants to use the Great Clock to create a timeline in which villains always win, rendering his past defeats non-existent. Together, they defeat Nefarious, and Clank chooses to follow his destiny and become the new keeper of the clock, and thus time. But Azimuth still wants to use the clock and kills Ratchet, who stood in his way. Clank then turns back time, being the new keeper of time, to save his best friend's life. Azimuth then reaches the Orvis Chamber and starts rewriting time. As Ratchet and Azimuth fight, the clock shatters, endangering the entire universe. Azimuth then realizes his mistake and sacrifices himself to save everyone. Ratchet then helps Clank and the Zoni repair the clock, after which Clank changes his mind about his destiny when he sees the last recording his father, Orvis, made. He chooses to stay with Ratchet, his best friend, and promoted Sigmund, a robot he met there, to senior caretaker of the Great Clock. After this big conclusion, we got two smaller spin-off games, of which the story didn't really matter to the grander scheme of things. All for One was a 4-player co-op game in which Quark, Clank, Ratchet, and yes, Nefarious had to team up to face a bigger evil. By the end of the game, though, Nefarious had seemingly warmed up a bit toward our heroes. Clearly, that did not stick. And in full frontal assault, Quark reassembles the Q-Force to protect the galaxy from an invading force in a tower defense game in which the villain is a former Captain Quark fanboy. It's a bit weird, but they defeat him. Then we have the last mainline series game set before Rift Apart, Into the Nexus. This game opened with Ratchet and Clank transporting a dangerous criminal called Vendra Prague to prison. But the crew got attacked by her twin brother Neftin, and they escaped together after the ship exploded, killing Krunk and Zephyr. Ratchet and Clank made it out alive, to which Vendra sent the Thugs for Less, who also went after them and going Commando, to kill them. Together they follow Vendra and Neftin to an abandoned planet called Yarrick against Talwyn's orders. The planet was haunted by ghosts from a different dimension, the Netherverse. They also learn Vendra and Neftin came from that planet. The twins had built themselves a homemade Dimensionator to bring the Netherverse to their universe and talk to the leader of the Nethers, Mr. I. The twins just wanted to be reunited with their race, which Ratchet understood more than anyone after the sacrifices he made in A Crack in Time. Mr. I then betrayed Vendra and locked her up in the Netherverse as he himself passed into the regular universe. Our heroes then team up with Neftin to bring Vendra back and defeat Mr. I using the actual Dimensionator from the previous titles, which sat in a museum. Vendra came back, they locked away Mr. I using the Dimensionator, and Vendra and Neftin turned themselves in after Ratchet and Clank saved their lives. In the end, the Dimensionator was broken and back in the museum. Ratchet still wanted to be with his race, but made peace with the fact that it was impossible. Clank then swiped the Dimensionator away without Ratchet knowing, which would lead directly into Rift Apart, where Clank has seemingly repaired it only for Dr. Nefarious to ruin everything again. And here we are, all up to date with the full timeline and story of the Ratchet and Clank series. Let me know in the comments below which game is your favorite and if you are looking forward to Rift Apart, because I am definitely looking forward to Rift Apart. And I'll stream it on my Twitch channel on Friday, twitch.tv/MrCobbleWobbles. Come check it out. Anyways, thanks for watching, liking, commenting, subscribing, clicking that bell. Feel free to watch another video, and see you later. Hoot hoot, motherforkers.